We're back. Yes, we are. We are Sports Take, hanging out with you on this Monday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, Barrett's going to be hopping on momentarily. I just saw the Keith Pompey's reporting that Joel Embiid did have a PRP, platelet-rich plasma treatment on the right knee, but is still currently listed as doubtful. So we'll get into that a little bit further in a moment here when it comes to Embiid. But back to the draft here, guys. So let's dig in with the later rounds here: 3rd round, 4th round, 6th, and 7th. So they trade back a little bit, and they actually made consecutive picks on on Friday. So they went Tyler Steen, the offensive tackle. He played tackle at Bama, but he projects as a guard because he's got a little Kelly Clarkson, little bit of that. So he's going to be a guard. Shorter arms is what we mean. Yeah. So he projects as a guard. And then they get Sidney Brown, who we just talked about, the hard-hitting safety from Illinois. So let's start with those two guys. Steen can come in here if they're not comfortable with Juergens for whatever reason, moving over to the guard spot this year until he takes over for Kelsey. Steen, I think, provides a little insurance there, or it allows him a year of redshirting basically to learn to cross-train, whether it be tackle or guard at the spot. And he comes from a great program, as usual.
He starts his career at Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Plays almost 750 snaps as a freshman at Vanderbilt. Then he transfers to what
position though?
What
position? He started out as a defensive lineman.
He did, but just talking about his versatility. But you explained to me in depth, Bear, how difficult it is to start as a defensive lineman and make that transition to an offensive lineman. That just doesn't happen overnight.
Right. It's a totally different mindset. And when he was there, the transfer from defense to offense, it says a little something about him as an athlete also. Being able to make that switch.
Yep.
But I'm gonna tell you the truth. Also, it's got a little negativeness to it also, because if you're a defensive lineman, you go to offense, you might not be as aggressive enough to play on the defensive side of the ball or quick enough to play on the defensive side of the ball, so they bring you over to the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I was a little different. I played defensive end and tight end. Then they moved me over to the offensive side of the ball because when I redshirted, they saw how good my feet were, so they wanted me to tackle. Same quickness, defensive mindset. I was a little more aggressive than most guys they had at that position. So they moved me over since I was going to be redshirt anyways. I don't know why they moved him over, because usually it's the exact opposite. They're not as aggressive, not as athletic, and they move him over there. What I will tell you about him, Tyler Steen, he started for Alabama. That alone, you got to get kudos for. He started. Like I told you, my boy is the offensive line coach at Alabama. He was my left guard. When I was a left tackle when I was in college, he was my left guard. And knowing him, he's pretty good. He's probably got good technique because Eric Wolford, Wolfie, he's a great guy as far as technique. But what I saw from him is something that I believe just going to Stoutland University will help him out. He's not as explosive. He's an athlete and he's athletic, so they think he's a finesse player. But in order to be an offensive lineman in Stoutland schemes, you got to be a little bit more explosive, a little bit more jump. Just like, those guys, it's almost like they're jumping off sides when they're getting off on the ball. That's being explosive.
Mm-hmm.
He gets out of his stance too slow. So he's going to have to learn that from Stoutland University. He may have to take a little night course here or a little summer school, but eventually he'll get abreast of what they're trying to do. They try to get out their stance as fast as possible. That way they can get to the point of attack and wait for the guy to get to him. And that's what, you learn at Stoutland University, that explosiveness. And getting out there, the point of attack, now it's time to fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He wasn't getting off the ball as fast as I thought he should. And they'll teach him that. But what you do get with him is a great athlete, moves well in space, he got a little bit of dog into him. They're going to give him a little more in there. Feed him hot sauce and gunpowder.
And raw bones.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They get him a little meaner, but this kid is every bit of a good player that he needs to be in this league.
Let me give you a real quick, Barrett. I want you to react. Just real quick, Gunner. I want to give him the draft profile. All right. So people who maybe didn't see him, and I know it's harder with offensive linemen, but this is a big dude. I mean, as you would expect, 6'6", 321. Here's the strengths. I'll give you the strengths and the weaknesses, and you tell me what you like, what concerns you, whatever. Gets off the snap with good lateral quickness. Strains to sustain and neutralize move blocks. Secures angles with choppy feet. These are the strengths. Steps and squeezes B gap to protect against blitzes. Times up his punch to make full uses of his leverage. Inside hand is compact and forceful. Shows ability to reset with hands when needed. That's the good. Here's the issues with, again, in their opinion. Comes out of stance with high pad level. Excessive forward lean diminishes body control. Below average adjustments as second level blocker. Inconsistent position and hand placement as a run blocker. Allows rusher to work free. Average redirect strength. Displays some hurry and lunging at top of rush.
Everything I described.
Yeah.
You gotta learn that.
Here's the thing, though, Big. What you were talking about, him coming out of his stance slower.
Mm-hmm.
If they put him at that right guard position until he becomes a graduate of Stoutland University, from the guard position, you have two guys on opposite sides of you that can help you disguise your deficiencies.
Yep.
And in this case, they don't have just two guys opposite of him if they plug him in that right guard. You have two Pro Bowlers / two future Hall of Famers. That will get him up to speed. So what's going to happen is he's going to see, why am I half step slower than them? They're going to tell him, hey, dude, this is what we do here. This is what you have to do. You got
right.
This is like synchronized swimming. You can't be a half step. If you in synchronized swimming, if you're half movement off, you mess up the whole cadence. You're not going to do that here. You want to play or you want to sit on the bench. You have to decide. And what did Lane Johnson say? You look at the size of this dude, not just he's 6'6", 6'6" as an offensive guard. What did Lane Johnson tell us the last time he was on? He said, man, I look up and down, it's like playing Jurassic Park.
and look at the other guy from Alabama, Dickerson, 6'6",
yeah.
340.
So now you go 6'8", 6'6". Kelsey's the run of the litter is 6'3". Then this dude is 6'6" and Lane Johnson 6'5". Man, that's a front court. That's a power front court basketball, man.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
This kid here, he's with the best offensive line coach you can possibly be with. He's surrounded by an offensive line, not the Giants, not Washington, not an offensive line that's still searching, trying to find its identity, but it's already an entrenched, proven commodity on that offensive line. You got four dudes that are Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen. Who better to learn from than a collection of people like that?
Yeah,
to get up to speed in terms of what you need to know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it reminds me of what we were talking about with Carter. There's the right people in place to teach. To have these guys learn.
Oh my goodness.
And all right, so that's Steen. Let's go to Brown now, and so a couple things on Sidney Brown. Just we were Barrett, you had to hop off, but we were talking about him a little bit. 4.40. He is a guy who has started since 2018 at Illinois. He started 10 games that year, 7 at safety, 3 at nickel as a true freshman. The accolades just go on and on and on. He was a first team All Big Ten pick on the nation's top scoring defense. Illinois had a nasty defense.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Both of their starting safeties were unbelievable.
Right.
Yep.
So he intercepted 6 passes. That's the third in FBS to go along with 59 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, a sack, 7 pass breakups, and 12 starts. And he opted, he opted out of the bowl game. But this is a guy who during the regular season put up monster numbers, 10 career interceptions total, and 6 last year. He's got a nose for the ball. The knock is he's a little tightly bound in the hips, can struggle to stay connected a little bit, but plays with great anticipation, plays downhill, meaning he's always 100 miles an hour, and is not afraid to just light people up and throw his body around.
There you go.
That's what he does.
That's what the back end of that defense needs. Yeah, that's what the back end of that defense needs. Somebody who will be known for laying the lumber. That's what this defense has been missing. You need somebody, not just good cover guys, he's quick twitch, great hip rotation. You need somebody back there that will be known as, hey, man, you better know what this dude is at all time. The thing is, though, I hope he doesn't play similar to Bob Sanders in the sense that Bob Sanders hit people so hard, he'd hurt himself more so than he hurt the opposition sometimes and missed a lot of games, cut his career short because of his injury factor. But this young man, Barrett, we were talking about when you stepped off about how I've done so many stories and got to know so many athletes. And your story is similar, although you didn't really want to play football until your mom said, you're going to play football and you're going to deal with me. So many young men who have played this game, who have come from the most poverty-stricken environments you can imagine. Mom working 2, 3, 4 jobs. They don't have nothing. Didn't know where their next meal was going to come from. I was talking about the Sharp brothers, Shannon and Sterling. Deion Sanders talked about what his mom went through to get him through life. And when you go through that, and even though he was drafted in the 3rd round, so he's not making that big money like first rounders are going to make, he's still going to make more money than he's ever seen in his life. And what's the first mindset? I can help my mom now. Yep. So he's hungry. He's playing a game not just for himself, but for his family. This is a livelihood. This is a financial vein that he probably thought may not ever happen. But it's going to make him hungrier because he's going to want to elongate that career to make even bigger money to put his family on easy street.
Absolutely.
Stories are great stories all the time.
Bro, I can remember I was going back, and it was right around the time we were talking about, okay, then we need to sign CJGJ. Right now, we don't have really a starter at the safety position. Reed Blankenship was the best thing we had going on. And at that time, Reed Blankenship and Kayvon Wallace were the 2 starters. So we started talking about it, starters in the draft, and we're talking about Alabama. And I said, no, we need to look at this guy, Sidney Brown from Illinois. I'm telling you, this guy is the ticket. This guy is a baller. Reminds me a lot of a mixture of Poyer and a little bit of Troy in it. Troy Polamalu, but I mean, Troy is a Hall of Famer, so you really can't put him. But I'm talking about how he plays the game, with the emotion he plays with the game, how he runs around, finishes plays. He's got that aspect of Troy in him. And Poyer's just a polished athlete that, plays the position. So that's why I equate him to. This kid will be good. He'll be good for a long. He's going to be good. He's going to start off on the active roster, play special teams, but eventually work his way up into being a starter this year.
Yeah.
He will start for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. I don't know when, probably about 4th game, but he's one of those types that he won't be denied and kept off the field. He's going to do whatever it takes to take it up that next level. He's going to do whatever it takes to be a part of the defensive scheme. Now, I don't know what the side runs. That's the only thing. But I know in Big Nickel, he'll be one of the starters in Big Nickel. Big Nickel is three safeties, and you take out a linebacker. He will be one of those 3. But this kid is that good. Once he learns the game, learns how to adjust to the game, he will be on the field. He won't be denied of being on the field.
And with the speed to match. With the speed to match.
Yep.
4.47 downhill player, short tackler, fearless. And you're right. It's a great rags to riches story. And I say
He's
riches
Canada, right?
From Canada. Him and his brother. His brother got drafted also.
Yeah, by the Bengals. He's a running back.
Yeah.
Chase.
Wow.
Chase Brown. Yep.
It's a great rags to riches story. Although by normal standards, even if he makes the league minimum for a rookie, which will be a base of 6 something, he'll get a small signing bonus. Everything about this guy. I don't even know him, haven't heard him speak, but I guarantee you everything about him is, how can I help my family now? How can I help my mom? The stories are so common, man. It's heartwarming, man. And you think about how you grew up, what you had, maybe what you didn't have. It's nothing compared to some of the stories we hear about athletes who eventually become pro athletes, what they had to get through, and how quickly they could have turned to the dark side more so than doing what they did.
I could have turned to the dark side because Mama Brooks wasn't having that. But there was times, you know what I'm saying? Like, I hated football growing up. I mean, I hated it with a passion. Why? Because football is hard. You know what I'm saying? You gotta commit to it. And I live by the mantra, whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability. So the only reason I played football hard because I had to do it to the best of my ability. So in saying that, I was able to make that transition because I thought about it. I wanted to be the next Barkley. So I thought about it. 6'3", 245-pound center versus a 6'3", 245-pound defensive end tight end. Okay, that's gonna make me more donuts. I'll be able to buy more donuts with that. You know what I'm saying? Then gravity took over, and I learned real fast. Yeah, I like to eat Big Macs too much, so I gotta go. I gotta go the direction I can buy more Big Macs. But at the end of the day, this kid here, I mean, and like I say, I was poor, but I didn't know I was poor because everybody else in my neighborhood was living the same way I was. So I didn't know I'm telling you, I did not know I was poor until I signed my first NFL deal, signed my contract, and I bought a house where I live now. And I go to the high school and I see kids driving BMWs and Mercedes to class. I'm like, what is going on? I don't even have a Mercedes or a BMW. They got kids driving to school. That's when I knew. I was like, oh, okay, then. Yeah. It's a difference between being wealthy and being rich and being poor. It's a huge difference.
Yep. All right. So the other move, then we go to the fourth round here, and this is Kelee Ringo. This is a guy who probably about midway through the season, some thought maybe first round. He had a tough game in the playoff against Ohio State. If you remember,
everybody had a tough game against those guys.
Right. Yeah, really. I mean, here's the thing: the guy he had a tough game against is going to be the first receiver taken next year, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Pops just happened to be an Hall of gold jacket Hall of Famer. So I mean, come on, man.
And the kid's on his way if he doesn't get hurt to that too. But there's that, and the other knock is that he'll drift sometimes, take some plays off, but. He's 6'2", 210, runs a 4.36, and he's only 20.
Say that one more time. Runs a what?
6'2", 210, runs a 4.36 40. This guy was a sprint champion in Arizona in high school, 100-yard sprint champ. Could have gone anywhere he wanted for track. Went to Georgia.
Wait. Say that again. Where'd he go?
Georgia. Shocking.
Another SEC. Another SEC.
But isn't even legal to drink yet. So, I look at that and I say, there's a lot of room to grow as a person and as a player. And now you get yourself a guy who is a freakish kind of athlete that you're bringing in here to either play corner, and there are some that think he could play safety with his size.
Bro, this kid, and he's going about it the right way. He worked out all during this whole time leading up to the combine and going into camp and everything. He's been working out with Richard Sherman. So if Richard can show him, because Richard Sherman was slow as pond water, but he could play because he had great technique.
Fundamentals,
Imagine him getting to learn the technique and fundamentals from Richard Sherman and apply it to that speed that he already has at 6'2", 210. And sit back and watch Big Play Slay, Bradbury, and Avonte Maddox play the game. Can you imagine how good this kid could be if he takes it all in?
Some believe he could be similar to a Malcolm Jenkins. He's a box type player. He can come down and play the box. You can set him up high. You can put him on the outside. You can play a lot of games with this dude in terms of his overall athleticism. But the thing I like the most about him, number one, his speed. Number two, again, another young DB they draft. He will hit you. He's not afraid to make contact. A lot of these DBs in the game today, they want to play flag football and tackle. Not this kid. This kid is like a kamikaze, man. He will come down and lay some lumber on some people, man. Yeah, I'm sitting and looking at what we've talked about so far with this Eagles draft. I still can't believe what they pulled in just the players we've talked about up to this point. 3 from Georgia, 1 from Alabama. I mean, you kidding me?
Bro, crazy, right? I mean, and this kid, Kelee Ringo, he's the one, he sealed the deal against Alabama, the first championship game he won. You know what I'm saying? National championship he won. Yep. He's the one that sealed the deal. He caught the interception, ran in for a touchdown.
Yeah.
He is a freak of nature as far as an athlete. He just needs to real, because I've seen a lot of players that were just fast, but they didn't know how to play the game. They didn't know how to, use their hips and turn out and read what the teams are trying to do to him, high, low. He didn't really understand what it took to do that. But I think this kid will learn, and he just so happened to have three of the best teachers as far as watching fundamentally sound guys play, in Bradbury and Slay and Monty Mack.
In Brown and Ringo, they're both billed as guys who like to play press coverage, who excel in press coverage. Is it possible that Matt Patricia and Sean Desai will go to more press coverage with these young men?
Right. No. Could be.
No. Bradbury and Slade talk about they want to play more up on receivers. You got four dudes now that can go hand-to-hand combat with these receivers in the game today. Is it possible that D-Gun might get his wish and see this Eagles secondary play more hand-to-hand combat now?
No.
Is it possible?
No.
What do you mean no? There's no more Jonathan Gannon. There's no more Jonathan Gannon standing in the way.
I understand that, but Jonathan Gannon couldn't run that unless the head coach said he could. And I don't think
the coach better get out of the way.
Well, I understand that, but I don't think he wants to play that style of defense, man. I really don't.
Okay, well, let's put it like this. When Matt Patricia was the D coordinator in New England played a lot of hand-to-hand combat. The New England cornerbacks like to get up in your face. When they had Stephon Gilmore and all them do, they like to get up in your face. Mm-hmm. You didn't bring Matt Patricia in here by accident to help out the side. You did not bring him in here just to sit back and be a cheerleader. He's here to have input in this defense. If Nick Sirianni is a smart coach, you have Sean Desai, you have Matt Patricia coordinating your defense. You step back. You tell them, you give them a general idea. This is what I want my defense to look like. Now you go out and make it happen. And Matt Patricia and Sean Desai says, you know what, coach? We'll start with that foundation, but here's how we want it to evolve. And if you're a good head coach, you know what you say? Let me see it. Let me see what it looks like.
Okay, so while I hear you, and I think they will be more aggressive than they were with Gannon. I think what Barrett's trying to say is this goes way above the defensive coordinator, and I think it goes above the head coach. This is an
You trying to say how he pulling strings again?
I am. I'm saying they have input on this, and it goes back to Jim Schwartz. Schwartz wasn't a big, swashbuckling gambler and all that other stuff. That's just the way they believe. They don't believe in giving up the big play. I hear you. I'm just telling you. You're setting yourself up for some disappointment, D-Gun. Right.
Fangio was in the he was in the building. He was in the building a couple months last year. And did it come from his philosophy, his way of thinking as far as we don't want to blitz, we don't take chances? Might be, but I'm just saying I don't see them being any more aggressive than they already were because they've shored up the defensive line. They're gonna believe
don't say that, Barrett.
I'm just being real, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. That's
because the thing I hate most is when you have your corners playing 7 to 10 yards off the ball, all you're doing is letting smarter teams dink and dunk their way down the field, throwing the underneath routes all over you. You can have all the talent in the world. If you're not pressing the issue, you're playing right into an opposition's hand. I'm not saying to win a game, but to make a game closer than it should be. I mean, you got the talent. You got the veteran talent now. You got 2 good quality young kids. You have 4 DBs that love to play hand-to-hand combat. Why are you not utilizing that asset?
Well, I think the other thing that you need to do, too, we've incorporated so much into the NFL now from the college game with RPO concepts and that kind of stuff. You have some long talks with Kirby Smart and tell me what works best for these cats. While we're also working them into our system. I want them to do that as well. And I think they will do that. So beyond that, guys, they also grab up here as the rounds went on. Tanner McKee, who's a 6'6", he's a big dude, quarterback from Stanford. And in the 7th round, McKee and Ojomo, who was a defensive tackle from Texas. Ojomo, a lot of people like. There were people that were hoping he wasn't going to get drafted, and there was going to be people lining up to sign him as an undrafted free agent. McKee, I don't know. He's got an arm. He's big. I'm sure he's a very smart guy. Went to Stanford, but it doesn't. I thought they were going to draft somebody who's more Jalen skill set rather than pocket guy, and that's what McKee is.
I'll tell you what, he's when you see him and you think about the quarterback factory and how he's bought into, the owners bought into, you think of a guy that played here and won a Super Bowl for you. And that's Nick Foles. 6'6", same size Nick, 230, same size as Nick. Doesn't run the read option, but runs the heck out of RPOs. So either hands it off to the running back or throws the pass. He's very efficient at that. He's a gunslinger. He's the type of guy that he likes to thread the needle between defenders. He can look guys off in coverage. He can read coverage. He just has functional mobility as opposed to being a mobile quarterback. Functional mobility. Makes good decisions for the most part. Can't be one of those guys that throw himself out of a rhythm. But he is a good quarterback. He was one of the top 10 quarterbacks in this draft.
Yeah, 6'6", 231. He is a large human. He did a 2-year mission in Brazil after arriving at Stanford in 2020. He had offers for Bama, Texas. He could have gone a lot of different places, and he ended up there. But Barrett said he's got great size. His release is tight. The ball comes out of his hands. Great spiral. Has access to drive velocity when he throws in rhythm, adequate anticipation. No trouble making longer field side throws, hash mark throws. But you mentioned it, Barrett. The TD interception ratio is not great. Clunky feet, not super athletic, poor mobility when distressed. Off schedule is not his strength. There you go.
This is also a Eagles move. They like to find a young quarterback in the he'll be a practice squad kid. They like to find a guy in the lower parts of the draft and slowly groom him and see what they can get out of him. I mean, look at, sometimes it's a carousel, he didn't make it. They go out and find another young one. And that's what they do. One thing about it is when it comes to these low-level quarterbacks or the free agents they draft, they won't keep them long. If they don't identify something that they can work with, they'll get them out of here in a hurry and bring another one in. They don't care about that. And now this kid here has some potential, has a lot of grooming that needs to be done. Big body, has some attributes that will fit well in this offense, but they need to see it. And he was the best one available at that point. And so we're going to find out, is he going to be here for the duration, meaning the year, or will we be talking about another young quarterback they're going to find somewhere off the streets before the season starts to try to groom and develop on the practice squad?
Yeah, I mean, this time last year we're talking about Carson Strong.
There you go. Who?
Yeah, we were talking about Carson Strong.
Where's he now?
I don't know. And this year he was Ian Book.
Yes. Yeah, Ian Book is the third stringer right now. Yeah, that's who he's going to have to beat out. I mean, it's going to be Mariota and then fill in the blank.
It's either Ian Book or Tanner McKee will be the two guys. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's how they closed it. And they get the defensive tackle out of Texas, as you mentioned. And you just, you're strengthening that spot. Who knows if he makes it? That's a 7th rounder. There's going to be a lot of competition.
Coach said Tanner McKee projects better than Minshew. Well, he's taller than Minshew, a better athlete than Minshew. So we'll see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It should be interesting to see if he can even make the team. It's kind of where I'm at. But the
right.
The Moro Ojomo is a defensive tackle who played at Texas, 6'3", 292. Strength and weaknesses, I'll give you a couple here real quick. 3-year starter at Texas, says something. Forces his way across the face of backside blocks. Lower body strength, plows through a blocker's edge. Consistent in rallying to the football until the whistle blows. Uses upper body power to shove protection off balance. Weaknesses, he's kind of mechanical, segmented, hips are tight, feet are heavy when forced to slide laterally. Lacking edge-to-edge foot. So it sounds like there's concern about just sort of athleticism.
Yeah, he's not what you call a great athlete.
Right.
But he's one of those guys that he's a bulldozer.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't play the game explosively, but he plays the game violently. You know what I'm saying? Uses his hands, creates separation. He'll take you off your spot. If your offensive line, you're trying to reach block him, he'll grab you and drive you into the backfield, to go make a play. He's strong like that. He plays very, very strong. He's not the most athletic guy in the world. Like, he only ran a 5 flat 40, 5.4 40, at 292.
Mm-hmm.
Put it like this, I was 315 and I ran a 4.9 and a 5 flat.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
He's not projected as the best athlete in the world, but he's still a guy that's strong, plays aggressive, but just doesn't have that quick twitch explosiveness off the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's got that junkyard dog mentality.
Yeah, bro.
He's gonna go out. He'll go out and scrap. What he lacks in physical attributes, he'll make up for in desire.
Yeah, he'll put that head on you.
Yes, and a lot of times that's what gets players on rosters, man. They're basically fighters. They're not the most technically sound. They're not the quickest off the snap. They don't have a wide array of moves, but there's always something about them that you need to see. You want to see, because he's the kind of player that inspires other players to give that extra effort also. When you're tired and you're bending over and you're holding your knee, he's that kind of player. This is, you know what? I ain't done yet. I'm not done. I'm not done yet, man. Look, I've been counted out my whole life. I got something else to prove now. Sometimes that makes for a heck of a player. You think about it.
Well, so in totality here, if you look at all of this, most people will tell you the Eagles won the draft, or they feel like it was a top 5 draft, that, what they ended up getting between quality players, value players. They have the whole point system. The points are through the roof with Carter and Nolan Smith and Ringo, where they got him, and Brown. Again, and then you had the trade in there where you give up almost nothing to get DeAndre Swift. Howie was really on his game again.
I still don't see how they got Nolan and Jalen in the first round. I can't believe that it happened, man. Like, I thought that Jalen Carter was going to be our unicorn. You know what I'm saying? He was like a mythical beast, a mythical creature that, that we'd never be able to get. And lo and behold, we got him, picked him up in our first round pick. And we only got him for you a 4th rounder next year, right?
That's right. Yeah.
A 4th rounder next
Which you can get that back if he walks. I'm talking about for Swift. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Jalen Carter, though.
Oh, Carter. Yeah. No, the move up, it was nothing. It was nothing. And you have tons of compensation picks.
Right.
Compensatory
so
picks.
That's crazy that we were able to pick him up. That's crazy, man, because I really thought that he, coming out, he was going to be a guy that, he's going to be a top 3, top 4 pick. I really thought that he was going to be a top. If it wasn't for the quarterbacks, he would have been the number 1 player picked in his draft. The number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was quite a haul, man. It's been quite a haul. And I think we're good. The difference between last year and this year is guys like Carter, Nolan Smith, Sidney Brown for sure, possibly Ringo. You're going to see these guys on the field this year, where last year we didn't, other than special teams and kind of garbage time. You will see these guys on the field. And DeAndre Swift, you're going to see on the field, and how they're going to figure all that out, I don't know. But the other thing that people are very excited about, I can't not bring this up. The Eagles and Barrett, your school, by the way, have picked up an undrafted free agent punter out of Kansas State.
Here we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Howie. Yes.
Okay.
Perhaps more important than Jalen Carter or anything else is that.
But hold on now. I gotta give it to you. I gotta tell you the truth, man.
Yeah.
He has a booming, strong arm.
It's Ty Zentner. Is what we're talking about.
He can kick the heck out of the ball.
Didn't they say they call him Legatron or something like that?
Legatron?
Yeah.
But he's been known to be a shankaholic now. I'm sorry, I got to tell the truth, man.
Come on,
he's from my school.
Rob.
He's been known to be a shankaholic. I can't lie for you. I can't lie to you, but I'll lie for you, though, man.
It's May 1st, the greatest month of the year, and I'm sitting here, and I don't want to start the month off wrong, but you better start formulating the words on your lips. Sippos.
No. I won't. No.
Sippos.
Derek,
Sippos.
I am going to talk this into existence. Sippos will not be the Eagles punter this year. It's my mission now. Okay.
The only way he is not their punter, if they get somebody in August, during training camp is competition. He comes there and wows them.
I
don't think the guy is on the roster now that that can honestly compete with him for the position.
But this kid, he can't boom with a country mile.
Right.
But he can also place kick also.
Oh.
So if Elliott's just kicking field goals, maybe he does kickoffs. I don't know, but they grabbed up a Bama kid, Eli Ricks. Yeah, who's a corner. So they got another.
He's
Bama.
Iffy though.
I know, but
he's iffy.
That's where we are at this point. But they Trevor Reed, who's an offensive tackle out of Louisville, Joseph Nagata, who's a receiver out of Clemson, the punter, as we mentioned, Eli Ricks, and then a tight end named Brady Russell out of Colorado. So that's no. I will not let this happen, Derek. And you know how I get. Sippos
yes,
will
I've
be
seen
fired.
you get many people fired.
Sippos will be fired. He will not be an idiot. I'll make it my mission. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We'll come back. We'll sneak in a little Sixers here. And then our NFL segment at 2 o'clock, we're going to look at how Dallas, how Washington, how New York did, who did well overall in the NFL, who did poorly, a bunch of other stuff to get into here. I hate to say, there's one NFC East team I think did particularly well for themselves. I don't know how you guys feel, but we'll get into all that when we get back. But little Sixers, little Embiid, little Celtics. I'll give you some numbers. They're a little, I don't know, worrisome, but we'll get into it. We'll do all that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Barrett, Derek, Rob, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, let's talk about Pro Action Restoration. Yes, if you're not familiar, Pro Action Restoration, they are my friends here, and they are the people that you reach out to if you have a home, if you have a business, you have property that you own, and you go through just the pain, the fear, the inconvenience of fire, smoke, water, mold damage, and you can't fix that yourself, right? You don't know what to do with that. Well, guess what? Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I can tell you that because I called them on a Saturday. They got right over to my parents' house. They fixed the problem, cleaned it up. The crew was professional. The price was right. It couldn't have been a better experience. Pro Action Restoration is licensed, bonded, fully insured, and they've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. So the reputation precedes them. All right. They are the real deal. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company also. So again, water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call. 610-623-3760. 610-623-3760 or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.